So good to see you in person.
Very good to see you too, Emma.
I'm really excited about the conversation we can actually have. I know we've already had some conversations already, but we're going to get into some depths and we're going to keep it relevant to SAP and the moment of, and the words and content we've been discussing today. All about bigger, bolder, better.
100%.
Are you ready to be challenged?
Let's go.
I love it. Let's talk about bigger first and really talking about innovation at scale. When you think about AI in your business, where is the next big move coming from? And what does bigger really look like in the next 12 months?
Well, first of all, I think the problem is getting bigger and harder as well. Our CEO likes to use a Formula One analogy, which I think is very relevant here, which is that Formula One engine is AI and the roads are the data. And too many enterprises run their Formula One cars on roads that are full of potholes. So the leaders of those organizations come to us and they say, we know we need to invest more in AI. But in the same breath, in the next sentence, they also say, we just don't see the return on investment yet. And that is really the gap where Collibra operates in, bridging that understanding gap between the investment in AI and the return on investments. As we've seen today, SAP expands AI agents into every core business process from supply chain, finance, HR, and those agents will need good quality, trusted data. And governance will make the difference between agents that succeed and agents that fail. Governance is about what makes you go fast, safely in the enterprise. And I think there's a second part of the analogy with Formula One that I really like, which is the brakes. If you want to go really, really fast, you have to trust your brakes. Formula One cars need those Formula One brakes as well. And governance is exactly like that. Governance is not there to slow you down. It's there to give you confidence that you can go fast with AI, that you can scale AI at an enterprise level. So really what I see is Colllibra becoming more important as the space in which we operate becomes more complex. We see a lot more data. We see a lot more systems. We see more agents. All of that creates more risk and more opportunity. SAP is also expanding into Databricks and Snowflake and BigQuery as well. So the surface area that Collibra will need to govern as SAP's governance partner of choice, as SAP expands into all of these other data stores and data sources, that will grow as well. And I think the companies that will win in this space are the ones that can move quickly without breaking trust.
I love this Formula One analogy. So if you think about it, you talked about the brakes, but then you've got your tire changes. How quickly are your controls in place, your processes in place to really get that car back on the road as soon as possible? And then where's the tail switch? Where's the brakes fail? What's the next steps? Where are you taking?
What do you do?
this?
100%. Yeah. How do you recover from that?
Have you decided what actions need to take place if you do have to put the brakes on? And then the other part you mentioned about ROI, I think is really interesting. Right now, executives are being asked what their AI journey looks like. What does their strategy look like? And at the end of the day, yes, the strategy can be great, it can be there, but what are you expecting AI to give you back? And I think ROI is something that really needs to be explored more. So I'd love to hear more thoughts from you on this one. So we've talked about being bigger. Let's talk about bolder. So what's an AI play you're making now that would have seemed crazy 2 years ago?
2 years ago, the conversation was very much around prompt engineering. It was even supposed to be the future of jobs, becoming a prompt engineer, right? So crafting this really clever prompt that would squeeze the most value out of an LLM. And I think we've seen since then the conversation has moved on towards context engineering. And today, I think we're talking about harness engineering. And what I mean by that is orchestrating the whole environment around the AI models, the tools, the context, the governance, the data, everything the AI models need to deliver those results in the enterprise at scale, to deliver tangible results. The big bet that Collibra made 2 years ago was saying that enterprises need control plane for AI. And at the time, maybe that seemed a bit ahead of its time. I think it was right on time because that's what we have today. Today, our biggest bet right now is optimizing Collibra for the agentic enterprise. It's not necessarily focusing on a specific feature. Of course, embedding AI in the platform is key, but it's making sure everyone in the organization can build and contribute to this foundational knowledge graph that agents can actually navigate afterwards. AI needs to drive outcomes, and the question is, how do we make AI reliable enough to operate as part of the flow of work? This is really what Collibra is doing right now, is shifting what we call shifting left for control and shifting right for context. So that means we're getting embedded in a headless way. So getting rid of the UI for most users, getting embedded in a headless way inside the workflows of engineers, for example, in their GitHub, wherever they do their work, to bring the controls around governance there, as well as at the same time bringing context that they need, again, where the work happens. So somebody working in Cursor shouldn't have to go to Collibra to check data governance. That information will be provided to them at their point of action where the work happens. And this is our big bet today. So 2 years ago, saying enterprises needed a control plane for AI maybe felt ahead of the curve. Now it feels obvious.
Yeah.
And the hard part is not seeing the trends, but really building the infrastructure for it before everyone else does.
That's incredible foresight, actually. If you think about where we were 2 years ago, as you say, versus what is needed now, and it's absolutely about that integration. And I know we're going to talk about responsible AI, our favorite topic, but getting
It is.
controls, putting controls in place after the fact is just not sustainable. And governance needs to be there as an enabler. But we'll get into this a bit more. But let's talk about better. In your world, what does meaningful better actually look like, whether for your customers, your employees, or the work itself? And where has AI truly moved the needle in a way that you can feel rather than just measure on a dashboard?
AI really compresses the distance between thoughts and working result, between using your imagination and actually doing something about it. And it used to be that it took a week to get a comparative analysis done by a data analyst. That can now happen in half a day, let's say. And the same data analyst can spin up a dashboard or can even write software. So one thing that AI has done really well is democratize who can create value in the enterprise. Everyone can now create this sophisticated work using the right tools. Probably an even bigger shift is in the technical capability of these models, right? The models used to be token predictors. I used to call them stochastic parrots. So now the models can actually reason, they can search the web, they can write code, they can run code, they can interact with other systems. This is creating a broader horizon for the autonomous activity of AI. The AI operating autonomously can go on for longer because of these additional capabilities that we're seeing right now. And maybe the most impact is in the compounding effect. So you have AI can make an employee 10 times more productive. A team, if you scale it at the team level, that can go 100x. And when you scale it at an enterprise level, then you can get into some serious operating leverage. But the catch is that the needle moves both ways. So while it can make an individual 10 times more productive in the things they understand, it can make the same person 10 times more dangerous in the things they don't understand. And the same goes at scale. So imagine the risk that you're bringing if you're scaling AI in the enterprise without having a full understanding of what you're feeding that AI or what you're using that AI on top of, so the foundation. Yes, I think of AI as having better outcomes, not just in productivity, but it's really changed the whole rhythm of work. And then now the question is not just whether AI can help, because of course it does, it's whether the organization has the foundation to make that help safe, repeatable, and valuable at scale.
I think these are some really important points. Democratization of AI, accessibility to broader employees within an organization. So I think this is where we start at the core of responsible AI, where employees are now getting access to these tools. And how do you ensure? And then you're also talking about 10x the workload, productivity. And it's great. That's fantastic. But in the hands, putting AI in the hands of employees, what have you done to upskill, reskill? Let me ask you about the approach that Collibra has taken to responsible AI. So we know that when you and I have been talking about responsible AI for quite a while now, it really does be that glue that brings the trust together. And so how do you think you're approaching that? And what's the best approach you've seen?
Responsibility makes innovation durable, and connective tissue is probably the best analogy there, the best metaphor, because in our bodies, connective tissue is not the most glamorous part, right? You don't notice, nobody cares about it, right? The organs, the muscles, they are the ones that get all the attention. But take the connective tissue away and everything starts falling apart. Your body starts moving in very unhealthy ways. And that's exactly the same thing with governance in an enterprise. It is this very unglamorous layer that helps keep everything together. And it makes AI more valuable when you understand it, when you understand what you're doing, and less risky if you don't understand what you're doing. Responsibility is not about ticking a compliance box. It's about making sure that the organization can innovate at scale. In terms of how Colllibra thinks about it, connective tissue helps keep the whole system working under pressure. And in a world where the AI is getting more powerful every month, that will only get more and more relevant as we move towards the agentic enterprise.
Agreed. I think we still keep our jobs in the space of responsible AI. There's a lot more to be done here.
For a while.
So we have a signature question in this series with SAP. In the world where agents are taking over, in the world where we've got agents to agents speaking to each other, the role of a human becomes even more imperative. So in the age of AI, what does connection mean to you?
I love this one. Let's think about, first of all, what connection is and where that did it come from. So if you're talking about technical connection, that used to mean APIs or systems interconnected. It used to be pretty much just moving data from point A to point B. And now it means what the data actually does when it gets there. So an AI agent receives data, it reads it, it reasons on it, it makes a decision, and it acts. And all of this happens very quickly. So that means the connection becomes this first step in a chain of autonomous decisions. But that also means that problems can cascade very quickly. So you need a trusted connection. And what does a trusted connection mean? Trusted connection means you embed governance, you embed lineage, quality, policy, controls, and accountability as part of that connection. Connection becomes a governance issue, not a technical issue. AI agents need to be linked to information they can be trusted. And this is where the human side of things also gets very interesting and very important, because if we think about what did connection mean for humans before the age of AI in work, it was pretty much just transfer of information, transfer of context, clarifications, status updates, or chasing approvals, right? And AI is actually very good at handling all of that and taking all of that away. So what is left? It's probably the most valuable types of connections between humans. It's the connections where people in the room matter as much as the facts on the table. It's where the answer is not clear cut, when there's ambiguity, where people actually need to really collaborate together, where there's ethics involved, where there's a need for judgment. That's what is left. And those are probably the most valuable types of human connections that we have. And we have more time now to work on those.
It's like the role of humans becomes richer. Like we're not doing the mundane tasks that a machine can do for us. And our knowledge, the philosophy, the literature, those human values become a lot stronger and a lot more valuable.
100%. AI is great if it is used in that way. And I think obviously it's a maturing curve, but this is where we need to go towards.
Agreed. Tudor, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Emma.
Fantastic.
Pleasure.